Hello everybody and welcome to my Disney World dining video. Now, about 2 weeks ago now, I was able to score some really amazing reservations during my 60-day dining window. Now, I've actually done this process quite a few times now. I think this will be my 4th time to Walt Disney World, so I'm quite used to the 60-day dining. It used to be 180 days. I'm quite used to getting my dining reservations, but even this time I learned a lot more about the process. So I'm so excited to share my tips and tricks with you so that you have the best chance of getting those hard to get reservations at Walt Disney World. But before we go and get started, if you're new around here, then I'd just like to say a big welcome. My name is Sam and I post lots of travel, lifestyle, Disney, theatre content. So if you love that kind of stuff, or perhaps you even have a trip to Walt Disney World coming up, then now is the perfect time to go and hit that subscribe button. I actually have a trip coming up in August with my family and we're going to be staying at All Star Music, which I am honestly so excited for. Like, I do love the All-Star resorts. Last time I stayed at Port Orleans French Quarter, but yeah, we decided to do an All-Star resort, so I'm very excited for that. But yeah, I'll be sharing everything with you from the planning stage, the organising, to actually being at the most magical place on earth. So make sure that you're hitting that subscribe button and you turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on a thing. I'd hate for you to miss out. But with all of that being said, let's talk about one of my favourite things to ever talk about, and that is Disney dining. Let's go. So when planning my dining reservations, before my 60 days, I like to have a rough plan of what park I'll be visiting each day on my trip. And that way I can actually decide which restaurants to go to based on my itinerary. Now, I usually base my parks based on crowd calendars, but I'm going to talk about that more in a separate video to this. Obviously today is just about dining, but I would normally look at crowd calendars and base what park I'm going to be going to on what day based on the predicted crowd levels. But whatever park you decide to go to, it's important to note that you're going to need to have a park pass reservation in order to dine at the restaurants inside the park. So you need to make sure you've taken care of that, making your itinerary, making your park plans before making your dining reservations. Now, like I said, I'm going to be going to Walt Disney World in August and I'm so excited for my next trip because I have some, honestly, really exciting restaurants booked. Some of them I've done before and then there's other ones which this will be my first time doing, but I'm going to be reviewing them all, obviously in the vlogs in August, so obviously stay tuned for that. But the restaurants that I've got planned is Homecoming at Disney Springs, which is one of my favourite restaurants on Disney property. Sci-Fi Diner at Hollywood Studios, which I just love the atmosphere in there, it's such a fun restaurant. Tusker House of Breakfast, which again I've done before, love Tusker House, and it just means that we get to go into the park slightly earlier than everybody else, and then we can go and have our morning ride on the safari, which I love going onto the safari is the first thing. A morning safari is just the perfect way to begin your day at Animal Kingdom. I've got Hoop-de-Doo musical review, which is, I'm going to be doing that for the first time. That's at Fort Wilderness Lodge. It's like a dinner show sort of thing with unlimited food, unlimited drinks. So that will be really exciting. And I've also got Roundup Rodeo Barbecue Diner, which is actually a brand new restaurant in Toy Story Land in Hollywood Studios, and I'm very excited to do that. So I've got 5 restaurants booked. I might book more as time goes on, but they're 5 table service restaurants which I have booked. I'm so grateful for them 5 because I think a lot of them are quite hard restaurants to get. I've done lots of other restaurants before, and at the end I will be reviewing them ones and just kind of telling you what other restaurants I've done in the past which I really liked. But they're the ones that we're going to be doing on this trip, which are definitely confirmed at the moment, but that might change. However, I am also a huge advocate for quick service dining, and I will be doing a lot of quick service dining when I'm out at Walt Disney World. I like quick service because it doesn't necessarily waste your time. You're not kind of sitting down for a long time having a meal and waiting for service. It's just a really, really nice meal. I'm a huge advocate for quick service, and I've done a video recently of the best food at Magic Kingdom. So definitely go and check that out, where I discussed the best table service, the best quick service, the best snacks at Magic Kingdom, and I will soon be doing them for the other parks also. So there's lots of content on this channel all about Disney food, but I also go and highly recommend Disney Food Blog, which is a fantastic YouTube channel. That is where I get all of my tips really for planning food at Walt Disney World. So Disney Food Blog is another one which I absolutely recommend that you check out because AJ at Disney Food Blog just knows what she's doing. She knows what she's talking about. Now, you might hear me today mentioning quite a lot hard to get Disney dining restaurants. And what I mean by this is the restaurants where it's going to be hard for you to book your table at 60 days because they are just either a lot more popular than other restaurants, or perhaps they are just in a lot smaller venue than some other restaurants. So it's just important to know that there's some hard to get restaurants where it is difficult. I'm going to be honest with you, it's difficult to get them. On your 60-day dining, there is a swarm of people at 11 o'clock when it opens who are trying to get the exact same restaurant. So it will be difficult, but these are just the hard to get restaurants, which I'm going to say, and it's definitely worth making sure that when you're on the app at 11 o'clock on the day that your window opens, that you are booking these ones first. So the hardest to get Disney dining restaurants at Walt Disney World currently in 2023 would be Our Guest, Cinderella's Royal Table, Hoop-de-Doo Musical Review, Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, Space 220, Topolino's Terrace, Ogre's Cantina, Storybook Dining, Chef Mickey's, Homecoming, Victoria and Albert's, California Grill, and Ohana. So they by far are the ones which are going to be most tricky for you to get. So I highly recommend that when it comes to your 60 days, you are looking at these ones first. Make sure that they're in your itinerary, you know you want to do them. Don't be put off because they're hard to get. Like, as I said, we've managed to get all of our hard to get restaurants for this trip, but just make sure that it's your first one that you get. You look at doing that first at the moment that it gets to 11 o'clock and the window opens. Now everybody, regardless if you're staying on site or off site, get access to Disney Dining 60 days before their trip. But did you know that if you're actually staying on a Walt Disney World hotel, like for me, I'm staying on All Star Music, you actually get an extra 10 days to book your dining reservations. And that is by far the most underrated perk if you're staying at a Disney hotel. It's one that people don't really talk about, but actually I think it is a huge perk. You can actually book your dining reservations technically up to 70 days in advance. This extra time is a huge advantage because it means that you basically have an even better chance of getting those hard to get reservations. And trust me, there are plenty of restaurants at Walt Disney World that are in high demand. Them hard to get restaurants. So for me, I guess I knew that Sci-Fi was going to be a really difficult one to get. But if you're staying on a Walt Disney World hotel, you have a better chance of getting those reservations because you're getting that extra 10 days in the future. So it opens 60 days in advance, but you get the next 10 days which open up after that. The earlier you can book your reservations, the better chance you have of getting the times and restaurants that you want. So by staying on the Disney World hotel, I personally think it is a huge underrated perk because you're getting that extra 10 days where it hasn't opened up to many people yet. It hasn't opened up to the general public or people staying off-site. It has just opened up for you as a guest staying at a Disney World hotel. So a huge perk. Highly recommend staying in a Disney hotel just for that. If you are somebody who loves Disney dining, you want to be eating in all the table service restaurants, staying in a hotel is 100% worth it just to guarantee that you're going to be getting your restaurants at that 60-day window. Now, another thing that you really need to do is really do your research and just make sure that you know exactly what you want from your Walt Disney World trip. And what I mean by this is just go, sit down, talk to the party that you're with, talk to your family, and just kind of decide what you want your Walt Disney World trip to look like. Do you want it to be that you are going to table service restaurants every single evening? Or would you prefer it to be that it's kind of a treat and you're going to be doing quick service the other times? Just go and really have them conversations. What sort of restaurants would you like to go to? Also, that's another big question. There's lots of character dining restaurants which offer great experiences, but they're not necessarily for everybody. They're probably the most chaotic restaurants out there. Or would you prefer to have the more sort of chilled, relaxed vibe? Obviously, like I've said, Sci-Fi Diner is a fantastic experience. I honestly loved it. I think it's perfect for families. You go and you sit in your little car, and I love that. Ogre's Cantina also, like, even though it's a bar and obviously they serve alcohol, for children, it's, I guess, all Star Wars themed. It's a really fun vibe. They do lots of mocktails and that kind of stuff. So it's really just deciding what is important to you. Now, I'd also say, when doing your research, have a look at the menus, but they don't necessarily give you a good insight as to whether it's a good restaurant to go to. And I would say take your time and actually go and watch vlogs on YouTube. Actually go and look and see what people are getting when they go to the restaurants. Does the food look good? Would it interest you and your family? Because actually, I think sometimes actually going and watching in a vlog and seeing what the food actually looks like can be a big decider for you. What I like may not be what you necessarily like, and even though I'm recommending restaurants today here in this video, you might find that it doesn't necessarily suit you and your family. So it's definitely about doing your own research, seeing what's important for your family, having a look online, seeing if there's pictures of food, reading the menus, that kind of thing. Now, another thing just to bear in mind is dining in Disney is expensive. When you're in the Disney bubble though, it's hard to go and get food outside of the Disney bubble, especially if you're staying on Disney property. Now for me, having food at Disney is a non-negotiable. I know that if I'm going on a Disney World trip, I need to be eating the food at Disney World, and I think it's really good quality food actually. However, obviously bear in mind that table service restaurants, there are a lot of hidden charges. So even though it's going to be an expensive meal anyway, on top of that, you've also got tax to pay, and you've also got gratuity to pay, where gratuity and tax is obviously an expectation. It's expected that you pay your 20% gratuity at the end, very unlike how it is in the UK. So again, bear that in mind when you're looking at the menus and you're thinking, oh, it doesn't look too badly priced. That's without all the hidden charges that are on top of it. So just bear that in mind. But I think it's definitely important before your trip, really think about what your budget's going to be for this trip. Is table service necessarily the right idea? Or maybe you're going to do what I'm doing this trip and having a mix of table service and also quick service. That works for me and that works for my budget for this trip. So that's personally what I'm doing, but again, work it out with you and your family. Now you've got to the point where you've made your spreadsheet, you know exactly what park you're going to on each day, you know exactly what restaurants you'd like to go to, what restaurants you'd like to book. It's now time for you to go and actually make a list of restaurants, and I make sure that I do this every time. And when I'm making this list, I don't make my list based on date order, but instead I do it on priority order. I have a discussion with my family and we work out what restaurants are a priority to us. What ones would we be really upset about if we didn't get, and what ones would we not mind too much. Also, bearing in mind them hard to get restaurants that I mentioned earlier on in the video. The hard to get restaurants will always take priority for me over a restaurant which isn't hard to get. So for example, for me, I knew that Roundup Rodeo Barbecue was definitely going to be a priority for me over perhaps a different restaurant. So for example, if I was going to T-Rex, that isn't necessarily going to be a priority because that's not as difficult to get otherwise. So just make sure that you're writing your list in priority order, discuss it with your family, and just have your list like that. And then this is going to really help you, because when it gets to that day, when it opens at 11 o'clock, you're going to go and you're going to look for the restaurants on your list in that priority order. If you can, try and get as many people helping you. It definitely helps out. So when I do it, it's normally me and my mum. My mum's like normally on her laptop and I'm on my phone. And at the same time, we know we have it's very regimented on that day. It's very military almost. It's like, right, mum, you're going to be booking this one, this one, and this one. I'm going to be booking this one, this one, and this one. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. Work as a team to get your restaurants, because you only get that opportunity once, really. It's only that 60 days at 11 o'clock once. So you need to make sure that you are trying your absolute hardest to go and get them restaurants at that time. So the next thing that's really important is that you have a backup plan, because again, this is something we always do. For example, for us, we knew that we wanted to go to Roundup Rodeo Barbecue and it had to be on a Hollywood Studios day. Now, this was really important for us because actually when we looked for Roundup Rodeo Barbecue for a lunch, at the beginning of our trip, we was unable to get it. It was completely sold out. However, towards the end of our trip, we was then able to go and get our Roundup Rodeo Barbecue. So we just had lots of backup days. We just knew Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, it doesn't matter what day we do it, as long as it's a Hollywood Studios day. So definitely when you're writing your list, just make sure you know exactly what other dates you could possibly do that restaurant. Just have as many options as available. And I'd say also, don't build your hopes up. I would have been quite happy if we just got kind of 2 restaurants. We were very, very fortunate that we managed to get 5. I think there's 5 that we've got. So we are very, very fortunate we was able to do that. It was a lot easier of a process this time than it perhaps has been in the past. But just, I guess, keep your expectations low so that you're not too disappointed when it comes to that day. That is what I would say, because I know so many people who have struggled. The app has crashed. Like, it's honestly, it's chaos. And until you've gone through it yourself, you're not going to know how much chaos it can be. It ran quite smoothly for us this time, but there has been times when we've looked on the phone and then the phone just keeps crashing. It's saying like it's unavailable, even though every time we look, it is available. And the app will crash and the website will crash. And for example, when you're selecting your party, sometimes, like for example for us, there's 4 people going in my group, and it was only showing 2 of us on the My Disney Experience app, and it was like, why is it doing that? So just be patient with it. Have as many devices going as possible, have as many people going as possible, really trying to get your bookings, because it is honestly a day of chaos. It honestly is chaos, but it is worth it in the end. Just don't have your expectations too high at first. Now, a little bit like I've just mentioned, you can go and you can book your Disney Dine-In either on a desktop or a laptop, which I personally love. I prefer doing it that way. It's my favourite way to actually go and do it, because you can actually go and filter it down into parks, and you can filter it down, like you can go and search for the restaurant. I really like doing it that way. You can also do it on the app. I don't personally love the app. The My Disney Experience app is not well made, so don't particularly like that. However, if you've got multiple people in your groups trying to get a dining reservation, the app isn't too bad, but it's not my go-to. And you can also go and phone Disney. Now, it's completely free to phone Disney, and they have like a UK number which you can go and book your dining reservations on. However, the problem with this is that the phone opens an hour after the app and the website have opened. So by the time you get to phoning somebody, because there would probably be a little bit of a queue, I imagine, as well, to go and phone somebody, by the time you've got through, a lot of them hard to get dining reservations have gone. So I would say it's best to do it yourself. However, if you're having complete problems, you're having lots of trouble, and it's been an hour that the window's been opened, definitely phone Disney, and somebody over there will definitely help you. Like, the Disney cast members are honestly incredible, and they will do everything in their power to help you have the most magical Disney experience based on the dining availability that they've got. So highly recommend that. But knowing that there's them 3 options available, I always, the night before, just go and practice what that day is going to look like before they open. It'll be really nice, because you'll be able to technically book restaurants for before your trip, because obviously your 60 days hasn't opened, but other people's 60 days has opened. So you'll be able to actually physically go and look on the app and just go through the process. Just make sure that you're confident with, when it comes to that day and I'm open at 11 o'clock, I'm not going to get too stressed out over it, because I've done it before. I know what the app looks like. There's going to be no surprises. You know exactly what to do. I go and test it out on the mobile app, and I test it out on my laptop, because both look very, very different. They're not the same at all, but just go practice so that there's no surprises for you. Now, this tip is definitely going to be a life changer, because for me, every single time I've gone through this process, it has been the thing that has slowed me down, and that is to make sure you have got all of your card details at hand. To book a Disney restaurant, you need to be able to put in a credit card. And I've done it before. When I've got to that stage, I forgot completely about the credit card, and then I've had to go rushing trying to find my card. It's a good idea just to make sure that you've already got your card saved onto your My Disney Experience app. If it's already saved, it will automatically, hopefully, come up on the app on the Disney dining day. However, if it isn't, just have your card at hand, because it will definitely ask you to go and put it in. And the reason Disney take it is just because if you decide to not turn up for your reservation, there will be like a charge for you not showing. So it's just important that you in order to book something, you have to have your card details on file. So just make sure that that is done, so that you don't do what I done and have a complete panic and end up wasting, like, it wasn't even that long, wasting like 2 minutes though, 2 minutes where I could have got something else because I didn't have my card details at hand. So just bear that in mind. Now, it's important that we kind of talk about this, because it can be quite sad and disappointing if you don't go and get them reservations. I know how it feels. I remember before trying to get Space 220, and no matter how many times I tried, it just was not possible. There was just no dining reservations going. But it's important that you don't kind of beat yourself up too much if you haven't got something. People are cancelling and changing the time of their dining reservation all the time. So don't lose hope. There's definitely a chance. The amount of times that I've been at Disney and I've cancelled a reservation because I'm not necessarily feeling it. If you went and looked at my Disneyland Paris vlog, for example, Chez Remy, I just wasn't ready for it. I didn't want the reservation anymore, so I just went and cancelled it, and somebody else was able to have it. And that was a hard to get reservation at Disneyland Paris. So just make sure that you don't lose hope, but you keep regularly checking on the app to see if there is anything. And there's some really nice ways that you can go and do this. Now, one thing you can do is actually go and just walk up to the restaurant. There's a way that you can do this now on the app where I'll show you what it looks like, but you can walk up and there'll be like, I guess, a queue time, like a standby time of when you're able to get into the restaurant. This works really, really nicely. It doesn't happen to all restaurants. It is just kind of luck, but if you are really unsuccessful and nothing has popped up on the reservation, then definitely see if you can walk up, because again, cast members are lovely people, lovely humans, and they will always try to help. Another thing that you can do is you can go and sign up to an app or a website which basically will email you alerts if the dine-in reservation comes available. So I had one called Mouse Watcher, which I used for my Christmas trip 2 years ago now, and it was honestly amazing, because literally the moment somebody cancels and Disney put that time slot back available, it will give you an email and it will say, I don't know, Space 220 has a table for 4 available on this day at this time, and then you can go and you're one of the first people to know, and you can go and book that. So again, I really love that you can do that. There's plenty of other websites. Some of them you have to pay for, some of them are free. I'm sure Mouse Watcher was free when I done it before, but I will check. But yes, I honestly love Mouse Watcher. Definitely check it out for yourself. See what Mouse Watcher is all about, because when I used it in December 2021, it was honestly perfect. Like, I was able to really go and just get some amazing reservations, which I didn't think I was going to have. I've lost all hope at that point, and Mouse Watcher kind of saved me. So highly recommend Mouse Watcher for that. Now, I just wanted to talk about in this part of the video some of my other recommendations, ones which I'm not necessarily doing this time when I visit Walt Disney World, but restaurants which I've done in the past and I've absolutely loved. So first of all, let's begin with T-Rex, because T-Rex is a great restaurant. I feel like I've done this now every single trip that I've been at Walt Disney World, and it's just a really, really fun atmosphere. If you've been to Rainforest Cafe in London, or even other ones in the Disney parks, so there's one in Disneyland Paris, there's a few at Walt Disney World, it's essentially the same thing, but it's dinosaur themed, it's T-Rex, but every time I've been there, the portions are huge, like absolutely huge. They have a really nice menu, a good variety, the theming and the decor is amazing. I honestly love T-Rex so much. And fun fact is that even if you aren't able to book it at your 60 days, you can actually go and buy a Landry's card, which I have a Landry's card. They offer some great discounts, like for example, when it's your birthday, they give you money off of the restaurant, and you get exclusive walk-up. So you can walk up to a restaurant and they will basically try and sit you as quickly as possible. You kind of are priority because you've got a Landry's card. So even if you're from the UK, definitely worth investing in a Landry's card if you're visiting Walt Disney World. With your Landry's card, you can get exclusive access to T-Rex, Rainforest Cafe, Yak and Yeti, as in like the sit-down table service restaurant. So some really good opportunities there with the Landry's card. I highly recommend it. Another restaurant which I highly recommend is Space 220. It is such an immersive experience. I love Space 220 so much. From the moment you walk into the restaurant, you do feel like you are in a complete different world, and I absolutely love that about Space 220. The food was quite okay. If you don't manage to get the restaurant, it's definitely worth checking out the lounge. You have kind of the same experience, it's just a smaller menu. But yeah, Space 220 was amazing. I remember the cocktails being really good in there also, so highly recommend that one. Another thing which I'm not doing this time necessarily, although I'm very tempted to book it again, is Ogre's Cantina, which you'll find in Hollywood Studios, in Galaxy's Edge. And yep, honestly, Ogre's Cantina, the drinks were amazing. It was almost like watching entertainment, like the way that they made the cocktails, and it was just incredible. It was a show that they put on. It was like you was drinking, but it was a show, and I absolutely loved it. We spent about an hour in there, but a really, really lovely bar to go to if you're looking for something slightly different. Another one that I absolutely really loved is Be Our Guest. We went to Be Our Guest in 2018 now, so things have changed slightly. The menu has changed quite significantly since 2018, but Be Our Guest for dinner was really nice. It's also a character encounter with the Beast. Again, the decor is amazing. The food was honestly beautiful. I loved the food so much. It was like a set menu, so it was a set price. So it was like a starter, main and dessert. And you get to try the grey stuff, which was absolutely delicious. And yeah, honestly, Be Our Guest was a perfect restaurant to go to, especially for the first time. And again, a perfect family restaurant. I also do kids menu and all different sort of things. So I really loved that. But yeah, I'd say they really are my main top restaurants when visiting Walt Disney World. But yeah, remember to stay tuned because I have a trip coming up in August. I honestly cannot wait. And I hope you found this video useful. Let me know down in the comments below if you've got a trip to Walt Disney World coming up soon. And also let me know what your favourite table service restaurants are, because definitely if you're recommending them down below, I'll see if I can book some extra table service restaurants. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you real soon in the next video. Bye guys.